Godspeed to the city streets. We began to feel the fire.
Hi everybody, and welcome to the School of Life with Sonny. Oh my days, I am so excited. The word is thrilled. Let me tell you, this is my cup filler. I love talking to you. I love imparting knowledge. I love sharing what I've learned. I just love it. I just love doing this. So as always, I love to ask you, why learn from your own experience if you can learn from the experiences of other people? I am candid with you. I come to share with you what I have learned, what has worked in my life, what has not worked in my life, and I also want to learn from you. Like, School of Life is all about the education life has given us. So today, I want to talk about foundations. The last 2 weeks, I've been talking about names or naming. And as I said, this is something I have learned. This is something that I have done myself. And so I always and only tell you what has worked for me and what hasn't worked for me. So today I want to talk to you about foundations. Think about foundations. What is a foundation? Think about a foundation. What is a foundation? Think about a building and the foundations in buildings. Think about your house. How many times have you walked into your house and you're like, oh my God, the foundation of this house? We hardly think of foundations because they are invisible. A foundation is the lowest part of a building or in a building, yet it's the most important part. Without a foundation, a building will, first of all, a building is not going to be made without a foundation. And if a building is constructed without a foundation, or when a building is constructed on a faulty foundation, we've seen what happens. You know what happens when people have tried to be a bit crooks, and they tried to put up higher or more stories than probably they had contracted for. When you know what has happened, they eventually collapse, and sometimes they don't even make it to getting people in the house. So a faulty foundation will definitely collapse. So what is the purpose of a foundation in a home? The foundation holds the building together, or a foundation determines the mass, the weight, the height of a building. If you want to make a 12-story building, and I want to make a bungalow, the foundation that is going to be dug on your 12-story house or building is not the same as my house. So the deeper the foundation, the stronger the building. I just said that and I felt sad because I feel like we live in a lot of ignorance, and honestly, I feel sometimes our own ignorance has been our limitation. And I know there are very many doctrines, and probably even now someone is going to think, oh, what doctrine is this she's bringing? I know there are very many doctrines, and they've made us become like, no, I'm not going to do this because there are very many things that have detoured us from the right path, But when I imagine the foundations that we have no clue of, when I imagine the things that were laid by our forefathers, when I imagine what we are standing on, like, what anchors you, what is it that you sit on? When I imagine these things and how deep-rooted some are, my heart feels sad because sometimes we've struggled with things that we didn't have to struggle for or with. Because if only someone did the right thing to just disconnect somewhere, then there are very many things that would not have happened. So a foundation can prevent you from getting to where you're supposed to get to. So a foundation can limit you. Do not forget how the same way that a foundation can limit a building, The same way a foundation can limit you. Why? Because we are not the first people. You are not the first person. There are people that lived before you. They are the first people that were in your family. You cannot tell me that you're going to inherit someone's voice. I've had families where people speak almost the same. I've seen people walk the same. They have the same walking style, and nobody trained the other. You've seen people physically. You resemble. You're the same shape. The same shape of eyes. The same. Like, if you can inherit these physical things, and you're not a physical. You're not just made up of the physical. You are soul. You are spirit. So you can also inherit other things. And this is what we have. We have been ignorant. We have been ignorant about, and we've lived like children. We've lived like children. When a child walks into my house, or when a child is crawling, and I start telling a child, oh, by the way, beneath this carpet or beneath this wooden floor, there's foundation, or there's a foundation. That child will not even understand what you're talking about. And I feel like that is how we've lived our lives. Like, we clueless, like we just assume that there are no foundations. And as born again Christians, I feel there's an ignorance we have, and there's this lack of knowledge that has made many people perish. And perish is not necessarily dying, right? You live below your standard. So you live below your standards because there's a foundation that is limiting you. You are limited by some foundations. I want to read for you a scripture before you say, oh my God, I don't know what she's talking about. 2 Timothy verse 1, 2 Timothy chapter 1 verse 5 says, this is Paul telling Timothy, and talking to him about his faith and encouraging him. Paul tells Timothy, I have been reminded of your sincere faith, which first lived in your grandmother Lois and in your mother Eunice, and I'm persuaded now lives in you also. So I know that you have faith because your grandmother Lois had faith. I know you have faith because your mother Eunice had faith, and I have no doubt that faith lives in you. So if you can inherit the good things, if faith is inheritable, that also means that evil is also inheritable. So what about salvation? What does salvation do? Salvation is for I don't want to say sinners because we are all sinners, but I'm going to say that because we're all sinners, yes, but salvation is for people who are not born again. But there's salvation and there's deliverance. And I'm not talking about the deliverance that you might think about, I don't know, do what, or no. I'm not talking about like that deliverance that you're talking about. I'm talking about the deliverance that comes from knowledge of truth. The deliverance that comes from, the truth that sets you free. That is the deliverance I'm talking about. Knowing that I sit on a foundation, knowing that there's something underneath me. And for me, I remember when my grandfather came for my graduation, when I was graduating, when I was doing my BA. I remember his speech, and I was perturbed. He said, Gadoni's degree is the first degree in the family, and he is a teacher. And I was like, you're a teacher. I mean, like, don't even go far. You're right here. And later he told me, no. I didn't. Mine. I didn't do a degree. I don't know what level he got to, but he told me it wasn't a degree. It was, of course, years ago. And so many things made sense. A lot of things started making sense. Like, for me, I have no doubt that education has been one of the strongholds that I've had to contend with. Like, so hard, so hard. And I'm a born again Christian, but I know, now let me tell you, there's a foundation that was not laid. And the fact that a foundation was not laid a foundation was laid. Yeah. Let me say that again. The fact that a foundation was not laid, a foundation was laid. The fact that the foundation for education or limitation in education is there, or the fact that education was not the foundation laid, and education or limited education is a foundation that has been there, and it's a foundation that I've had to contend. And let me talk about myself. So when there's a foundation that has been laid, and when a foundation has not been laid, both are foundations. I hope I'm making sense. So if there's a foundation of not getting married that has not been laid, then what foundation is that? The opposite. The foundation is singleness. If a foundation of divorce has been laid, then there's a foundation of divorce. So I have to understand, what am I contending with? What is this that I'm fighting? And for me, it was education. It has been education. And in part 2, I'm going to tell you, my education journey, because this is going to help you understand what I'm saying. So please stay with me. Let me see you in part 2 as I tell you about this foundation that was not laid and this foundation that was laid. Stay with me. Check out.
We rise like tall buildings as the chemicals they take us higher. The night's young, and it's just